A city in chaos, bricks flying, soldiers firing, dozens dead. And the reason? Two actors arguing over Shakespeare. This is the shocking story of New York's deadliest theater riot. Picture this: New York City, May 10th, 1849. Thousands of people jam the streets around Astor Place. Bricks fly through the air. Soldiers raise their muskets. And in the chaos, dozens of civilians fall dead. And the spark that set it all off: a fight over Shakespeare. This was the Astor Place Riot, the deadliest theater riot in American history, where art, class, and politics collided with bloody results. At the center were two men who hated each other. First, Edwin Forrest, America's first homegrown theater superstar. Big, muscular, passionate, almost volcanic on stage. To working-class New Yorkers and Irish immigrants, Forrest was one of their own, a symbol of America standing tall against Europe. As cultural snobbery, then there was William Charles Macready, a refined English actor. Celebrated in London's aristocratic circles, his acting was restrained, polished, elegant. Wealthy New Yorkers adored him. He was the Shakespeare of the elite. The two men had once been friends, but their relationship soured quickly. Forrest even traveled to London and famously hissed at Macready during a performance of Hamlet. Soon, the press on both sides of the Atlantic stoked their rivalry, asking the burning question: who was the greater Shakespearean actor? But this was never just about theater. It was about America versus Britain, the working class versus the elite, immigrants versus nativists. By 1849, the actors had become symbols for all those deeper tensions. When Macready came to New York for his farewell tour, things turned ugly. On May 7th, Forrest's supporters stormed the Astor Opera House, buying up seats and raining chaos down on Macready's performance of Macbeth. They hurled rotten eggs, potatoes, even ripped up seats onto the stage. Macready tried to keep acting, but the noise was deafening. Humiliated, Macready decided to quit New York altogether, but 47 prominent citizens, including writers Herman Melville and Washington Irving, begged him to stay. They promised that orderly New Yorkers would protect him. Against his better judgment, he agreed. That decision nearly got hundreds killed. On May 10th, Macready took the stage again. Outside, 10,000 angry New Yorkers gathered, many stirred up by handbills distributed by Captain Isaiah Rynders and the dime novelist Ned Buntline. The posters asked a simple, provocative question: shall Americans or English rule this city? The crowd was ready for war. They hurled stones and bricks, shattering the opera house windows. Police tried to hold them back, but the mob kept swelling. Inside, Macready struggled through the play in near silence, while Forrest was performing his own Macbeth just blocks away to thunderous applause. By nightfall, the authorities panicked. The mayor called in the 7th New York Militia Regiment -350 soldiers with muskets, bayonets, even light artillery. They lined up outside the opera house as the crowd surged. At first, the soldiers fired warning shots into the air, but it didn't stop the mob. And then came the order. The militia opened fire into the crowd. When the smoke cleared, the cobblestone streets were slick with blood. Somewhere between 22 and 31 civilians lay dead, most of them poor laborers and Irish immigrants. More than 120 others were wounded. Families combed the streets and morgues the next morning, searching desperately for their loved ones. And it wasn't over. The very next night, thousands gathered again in City Hall Park, demanding revenge. A young boy was killed in the melee, and running battles with troops lit up Broadway once more. Only this time, the authorities quickly crushed the uprising. In the aftermath, the Astor Opera House was forever stained. People called it the Massacre Opera House, or more bitterly, Disaster Place. It shut down soon after. The city's wealthy elite retreated uptown, building a new opera house far away from the working-class Bowery. Forrest's reputation never fully recovered, though his fiery style of acting influenced American theater and even early Hollywood for decades. Macready fled home to England, never to return. But the real legacy of the riot was much larger. It deepened the divide between New York's classes and transformed theater forever. From then on, Shakespeare would slowly shift from being popular entertainment for all classes into high culture, reserved for the elite. And it also changed how New York handled unrest. The Astor Place Riot marked the moment when police and military learned to deal with riots using brute force. It was the bloodiest use of military action against civilians since the Revolutionary War. So the next time you picture Shakespeare as polite, cultured, and refined, remember that in 1849, his plays turned New York into a battlefield, not over politics, not over territory, but over who played Macbeth better.